Yes, I feel like crying already. Is it recording?
It's recording. You're on. We're
Alright,
rolling, bro.
alright.
All right. First off, can we start off with your name?
My name's Jose.
How was your day today?
It was a wind down day, It's 4th of July yesterday. It was pretty lit as far as watching. But yeah, it's just chill.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm gonna get into these questions. Can you tell me a little bit about your childhood?
Yeah, my childhood for me was bittersweet. Um, I get emotional just thinking about it. But I mean, it was bitter in the sense that my parents got divorced when I was 5, and
What were those emotions that you felt as a kid when that was happening?
I didn't really know what was going on. But it wasn't just that. It wasn't the split. It was what happened after.
And what was that?
I think my mom became a single mom with 6 kids, and she had to find a way to to discipline us, and she decided to be an extreme disciplinarian for me for the most part. And that was intense. I never understood what why she decided to do that. But that was the bitter part. The sweet part was that I had my sisters.
Your sisters are like your rock, then.
I mean, yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna switch it up a little bit. What were your dreams as a child?
I wanted to be an architect.
Why is that?
I mean, I
What was it
liked.
about? What was about that?
I always liked looking at pretty buildings, and I always wanted to build things that were beautiful.
How was your relationship with your dad?
Growing up, it was he wasn't really around much, so I mean, I made up a relationship with my dad, and I guess it was him not being around. I always pictured him being the opposite of what my mom was. So my mom having to be the disciplinarian and the one being there, I automatically, my dad became in my mind always the hero, the guy that if he was there, things wouldn't be this way. And I always thought the world of him.
How did that feel when your father left when you were 5?
I mean, I didn't know. When I was 5, I mean, I always thought he was coming back.
What about throughout your childhood, like getting older? Did it affect you that in any way?
I mean, I was a kid. I always hoped. Um, so it didn't. Like growing up, I just thought he would come back for forever. Until one day I woke up and it just hit me like, oh man, I guess he's not coming back.
How was the relationship with
Well,
your mother?
now it's a lot better. I mean, now that I've gotten older and I've experienced life for myself, I've always looked at my mom with a great sense of awe, regardless of the, of her choice of raising us, I always marveled at her ability to push through whatever she was going through, to provide for us, to be there for us. Um, and I always respected her. So, I mean, growing up, my relationship with her wasn't too lovey-dovey, wasn't too affectionate or anything like that. Um, but now I just get to put myself in her shoes, and I see that, given everything that she went through, I think she did the best she could, beyond a doubt.
What were the lessons that your parents taught you, whether they're good or bad?
My dad, he wasn't around, so, you know, growing up, I can't really say I learned any lessons from him in my youth.
Is there something you learned that you didn't want to be like because of that?
No, I still thought my dad was a good guy. I just didn't learn anything from him in my youth.
Right.
But he did teach me. I learned that I'm a very hopeful person, because, like I said, I always hoped for him. Growing up, as I got older, I had to move in with him, and I lived with him for close to 3 years, and I can't say he really taught me anything in those 3 years.
You're already
Right, I was already an adult, but it was when I got out of prison. I was on parole. I had 1 year left on parole, and a lot of stuff was happening back in LA, and he called me and he reached out and he said, if you want to come live with me, till stuff cools down, you can. I took him up on the offer, and I got to know him, and he's pretty much like a teddy bear for the most part.
how did that make you feel? Like your dad opening his arms and saying, you're welcome here.
At first, it didn't feel good. I had a lot of pride, and it was like, it was something that I just had to do. And I did it reluctantly. But as I got to know him more, it's like anyone getting to know their dad. You see his mannerisms, and I have the same mannerisms. You see his attitude, and I have the same attitude. And at the end of the day, even though he wasn't around, what I did learn from him, which was the most important thing, was that he loved me.
Who taught you love, and what did it look like for you?
Initially my mom. Um, Beyond that, my sisters. And it's a pretty intense love.
How can you describe that for me? The intensity. Even in one word.
In one word. Unconditional.
So your definition of love is unconditional. Has it always been the same, or has it changed? What is it to you now?
My definition of love was, very skewed.
As a kid and then growing up as an adult,
As a kid, I learned love from my mom initially, and that was just being there. At the very least, my mom was always there, regardless, and she's still there right now. When I got to experience a different type of love was from my sisters, and that was my mom's, her love for me is unconditional as well, but it was more of like they're there. Like it was just trustful, um, and it was compassionate.
Would you say you had a good example of love growing up from your sisters and your mom?
Beyond a doubt.
What does a good day look like for you? Can you walk me through it?
Damn, I didn't think I would be crying this much, bro. This is crazy. This is crazy. I could let it out. Um, a good day for me is anytime, well, obviously, if I have my family around, that's a good day for me. When I wake up and the day kicks off right, get up, pray, meditate, read right, and the other pieces usually fall in right after that.
What does a bad day look like to you?
The
How do you identify it?
the opposite of that.
How do you identify that? How do you identify it, and then how do you push through it?
Bad day for me is the opposite of what I just said. So that would be me waking up, and if I don't start my day off right, which means praying or meditating, reading and writing, it's the execution of the rest of the day is off. Um, the way I identify that, I can feel it, and I can for sure feel when the day's off. And as soon as I feel it, that's when I'll try and get back into the fundamentals of what I do to make sure the day's is productive, beyond and grateful that it's a grateful day. Um, but yeah, a bad day, just feeling feeling that I'm not doing enough, feeling that um, the anxiety that comes with feeling that I'm not doing enough, and then
What does that feel like?
I just feel it it's like when people talk about when they take pre-workout, like my whole body can feel that way. Um, and like I feel it in my entire body, and then if I try to do more in that day that I know is above and beyond, that makes it worse. Like I can't do that either. So I just got to sit back and be like, hey, like you did everything that needed to be done. So I just tell myself to relax for the
Find that
most part.
balance.
Yeah.
Find that balance. What are two things, events, or people that have shaped you as a person, good or bad? And how does it feel like to reflect on those things?
Um, obviously, my childhood in general. But I think one of the biggest things that shaped me was going to prison when I was 18. And I think it was good and it was bad.
What did you go to prison for?
I went to prison for, I think it was 16 counts of second degree robbery.
And you were young.
I was 18 and a half.
How did that shape you?
The actual crime or the
The
time?
whole process, the whole rehabilitation, and getting caught.
When you're in it, when I was in it going through it, it's more than I'm just experiencing it. People talk about being in the moment. Like I have to be in the moment every day. So I'm not going through it. I'm just literally in that second a second. I can't really say I'm learning too much except you're surviving. Like I'm learning a lot about surviving. Luckily, I've been a good observer, so I'm having to observe like what is going on. But I did learn a lot about like just life.
What kind of lessons did you learn?
Things are not black and white. That most people, that there's truly a gray area, and most of us are in it. I learned that the biggest lesson from all that was to do the right thing. I learned that good people will be good people even in prison. That there's bad people in there, beyond a doubt, but there's good people in there. Um, I was able to observe the complexities of what was going on. You got a bunch of guys in there who you got from 18 years old to 80 years old, and you wonder, like, what brought us to this life. And you have to start thinking, and I've always been a ponderer, and I just thought, like, we're all the same. I think the reason that we bond, as far as, when you have homies in a gang or in prison, etc., it's because we have that common pain. You'd be hard pressed to find anybody there who had a 2-parent home in the whole prison system. You see that there's something way deeper going on, that it's not just this crime that happened, that these levels of hurt and wrong go all the way back. And it just taught me to look at people for who they are, not for what they did.
So prison being one, what was the other?
An event that's shaped.
Event, thing, or person. There's a person in your life that
I'm at an unfair advantage because I know all the questions, but if we can answer it, I would say that event would be, my battle with depression. That's for sure the other event. Man, it was intense. It was the most intense thing I'd ever felt.
What did it feel like? Can you describe it for me?
Oh my God, it was chaos. It was pain every day. It was hurt every day. It was tough.
Did it come and go, or did it just stay? Did it feel like it just stayed up with you the whole time?
Oh no, there was like no happy days.
So what has inspired you lately, and why?
I mean, I used to never get inspired by anything. Like, I've always been only God can inspire me type. Like, just ego, pride. But pretty much after that whole issue with depression and that whole experience, I was able to just take the inspiration. Obviously, my faith inspires me every day. But on the day-to-day, on a practical level, my brother Ralph, it's not an easy journey that I was on, and to live with somebody who, who doesn't have both his legs, gets up and grinds every day. I was finally able to take that as inspiration, take it for what it was, and learn from that. And we ended up doing a bunch of stuff together. And then my little brother Roger, because he's a freaking innocent kid who's an angel, and he inspires me just for him being him, for sure.
Can you talk to me about a humbling experience for you?
That whole battle with depression was the most humbling experience I ever had.
And because it was
It's something I never experienced before. Yeah.
Can you go into your mind and think this life event can be mental, physical, or spiritual? Can you tell me about a time you related to the word war?
Same, the whole battle with depression.
So it's literally you're at battle with yourself, your thoughts, your emotions.
Yeah, it's intense.
Was it because you couldn't define what was happening to you? Is that the unknown that was the biggest battle for you, or you just didn't know the way out?
Of course, had no clue what was happening. Don't know what, have no tools to deal with it. It's like you're fighting and you're fighting and you're getting beat down every day, and it's almost like you have no shot. And it's like a war you can't win because like I didn't know what was going on. So I'm just trying to get through every day.
What pulled you through?
That one's more tears. Beyond a doubt, God. No question.
Can you explain that to me?
I mean, I'd have to give you the whole background.
I got all the time.
So I didn't say to go back to my mom, given everything that, her style of raising us and all those things, she always taught us that, that we were loved by God and that God would always be there for us, and that you could talk to him, you could pray, etc., right? And all those things, and they're great. And as a kid, like I believed, as a kid, you're a kid, I'm still like, of course this is true. But as you grow up and you go through life and you get hurt, and, in my case, you hurt people, and you see life as like, yeah, maybe there is a God, but he's all the way over there somewhere. And it's just, in a real way, like I just kind of stopped believing. And during that depression, when it's like everything came to a head. It's like I was forced to pretty much confront everything I'd ever done, everything I'd been through, and I couldn't do it. My time in prison, I always had resentment towards my mom. And being in prison, when I would talk to the homies and everything, and they tell me about their mom, and they're like, oh, I don't even know my mom. Or, oh, my mom was never home. Or, my mom had guys over every night. And like a light bulb went on in my head, and I was like, yo, like, my mom was always there. Like, she always provided, and I forgave her during my whole prison time. Like, I used that time, and what I got out of that was me being able to forgive her. And then after that, when I lived with my dad, because then I still held resentment towards my dad. And I was, okay, I forgave my mom, but now, my dad, I'm not going to forgive him. So So, but when I lived with my dad, and it's the same thing over time. Finally, I had no choice but to forgive him, because at the end of the day, I can't deny that he loves me. He wasn't there, and that's okay. I got to see that he's going through his life. My mom was going through her life, and those are big events for me personally, and they helped me a lot, and they help me now. But I'd done that, and fast forward, I moved to Denver, and I had my whole identity had to crumble. I had gotten my self esteem from my gang for the most part. Like I got my value from what the homies thought of me. I got my worth from my reputation. I got that's what I would feed off of when I thought that's all my ego fed off of was just all these negative things that I was a part of. And then when I moved out here, it was like I didn't have the homies, I didn't have a structure, nobody knew me, nobody cares about what you did anytime, etc. Nobody, so it's like, who am I? And that's going on. And
How did you handle
I drank. Yeah, I mean, I always, I started drinking way more. It was just like, it was a lot to take in for me. And I drank. I got a DUI. I got fired from one job, fired from another job. Um, and It's like I remember something Bobo said when he said, rock bottom, it comes and hits you from all sides. And that's what happened. It was like, my ego had to go. Um, and it went, and it was hard, and it was like I have so much pride, or I had so much pride that it was just okay. Let's just keep on going. So you got fired. Okay, you got fired from another. I'm trying to I'm swimming, and I feel horrible every day. I'm just clinging. I'm just trying and hoping things will get better, and they're just not, and they wouldn't. And I talk about my mom and my dad, and the whole uh, forgiveness. And there was one less person to forgive, and it was myself, and I just couldn't do that.
Have you been able to do that now?
I'm not the one who did it. God did it. So, during that whole time, it was just everything, just life is just beating my ass, and I can't, is everything I've been through, the violence, the toughness, the streets, it's just like, I was just getting beat down every day. And, it was just one thing after the other, and to the point where I wanted to kill myself.
Would you call that rock bottom for you?
To the point where I wanted to kill myself?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that was the rock bottom.
As far as you can
And the only way I got out of that was, you know, I couldn't forgive myself, so I couldn't look myself in the mirror and tell myself that I was a good person because I wasn't. You know, I had built up a whole rationale system to rationalize all the wrong things I was doing, that I did, that I've done, because I was doing that for decades. I started doing that at a young age, rationalizing for other people and then for myself, and then it just, the rationale system just broke down. I couldn't rationalize the wrong things I was doing anymore. But then, I can't forgive myself either. So, the saving moment for me, and I've told it to you many times before, is, I'm like, I'm done. I want to take my own life. I can't do it. I just feel like, if this is what life's going to be like, it's not for me. There's no way I can keep on putting up whatever type of fight I'm trying to put up. And just the thought process of the suicidal thoughts are like something I'd never had before, and they were, I just wanted to stop having them, and it just got to the point, look, I'm either gonna do it or I didn't know what to do. So I cried out to God. And I cried out specifically. I cried out to Jesus. And then, you know, um, my life began to change.
Can you go into your mind and think about an event that is either mental, physical, or spiritual, where you can relate to the word peace?
Oh, yeah.
Where's this from?
Let me wipe these tears, bro. Let me wipe these tears. The peace was kind of intense, and I don't know if some people might get it, but the moment, I've thought about it all the time. I've thought about this peace moment so many times, and it was during a prison riot. These lights are blinding me right now, bro. Gazing out. It was during the prison riot, and this was when I was in the LA County jail for like 8 months, in the Orange County jail for another case for a few months, and I had been in riots in the LA County jail, and those are chaos, like they're melees, yeah, like they're intense, right? Those are more like, if you have anxiety, that's what LA County riot. This is your anxiety all the way up here. And there you're trying to survive, you're fighting, whatever. Some people get really hurt, some people don't. But when I got to and it was like I was always in the mix of all the violence for the most part. And then that held true when I pled guilty, went to prison. As soon as I do the whole processing, get on the yard, as soon as I get on the yard, they let me know that, hey, it's cracking right now. As soon as we get off of this lockdown, we're gonna do our thing. Shout out to Granny Lope from 2nd Street. And it's like, there's a buildup now, because we know when we're gonna get off a lockdown. So we have a date and time when this is gonna happen. And I'm sitting down, the day of comes, and not everybody goes out there, mind you. And then half the people who go out there half of them aren't going to do anything. And but there's another half who will. And the backstory on that, two people got stabbed halfway to death in another prison, people I didn't know, etc., but just prison stuff. But it came to our prison yard and we had to do something. And I just remember sitting on the bunk right literally before the riot. Like the bell calls 15 minutes to yard. And then I'm just thinking in my head, and I'm just like, ah, man, like, you know, kind of like, do I want to go? Do I want to go out there? It's almost like I have no choice, right? So my cross referencing is always it's really my sisters, and I always think what they would think. And I'm sitting there on my bunk, and I'm like, I really visualize them if they think it would be okay. And I know my sisters, how they are, my whole family, that they would better I go than not. That it would be worse if I were not to fight, because that's just how we think. So I had no qualms about that, and now the second phase was, okay, am I going to take a weapon or am I not going to take a weapon? I mean, I'm going home in like 2 years, so the answer is no. I'm not going to take a weapon out there. And I really don't want to go and kill anybody, for sure. So I'm like, I'm just going out there to show my support at the end of the day and physically be involved. I tie my shoes, and this riot's outdoors. It's not indoors like that's why those are chaotic. So I tie my shoes. It's just like time slows down, like, right? Time is just, it's almost non-existent. We're waiting. The guards let the door open, and it's like, I never forget. It's like you feel the heat of the desert. Just touches your face. The sun is beaming like bright, like these bright lights, you know. And I see that, and then I see where all the commotion is at. I run full speed towards it, and it's like you see some pretty ugly stuff, and it's kind of like in that moment, everything. It's all in that hand-to-hand combat, in that close quarters. It's really you just feeling, like it's just feel, because it's just. And you're just following an energy for the most part. And the reason I say it was peaceful is one of the most, I think really the most peaceful thing I got to experience was, you know, after the riot, they fired the real bullets, boom, boom. That's when I got down. Everyone's laying prone. The ambulance comes into the prison yard. The guns are out, everything from the guards. But I felt peace in that moment, because in that moment, whether the overall fight was right or wrong, the reasons that I was fighting for, I felt were right. And when I was out there, like, I knew what I was fighting for. What the homie next to me, what he was fighting for, I don't know. I hope that he's comfortable in what he was fighting for. But when I was out there doing it, I felt my reasons were about friendship, loyalty, and things of those natures. And I did what I had to do, and I don't ever really, actually, it's peace. That was peace to me.
Can you tell me about a joyous moment in your life and the emotions that came from it?
Yeah, Liz's wedding. My sister Liz's wedding was probably one of the most joyous, if not the most joyous moment in my life. You know, fortunately things didn't work out with Ralph. But it was, I must have been, like 2.5 years out of prison. And my sister called me and she said that she wanted me to be like to be a speaker of honor and to participate in the wedding and all those things. And one, I was truly honored, and in a weird way, I didn't expect that.
Why is that?
I mean, I don't know why.
Was that something internal, or did you feel it the pressures from outside, or
Why?
why you didn't think that call was going to come to you?
I mean, because I was still ashamed, like, that she would even. You think you're not good enough.
And by her calling you, it just changed that for you.
Yeah, it was a beautiful moment for me.
We've talked a lot about difficult times, so I'm going to ask you to talk to me about another truly difficult time that you've experienced.
Man, another one? I thought we were.
I'm giving you the questions.
Jeez.
You'll thank me later.
I mean, it's all in that whole depression. It's like everything had to happen at once to break my pride. Like, I didn't have many things in life. One thing that I did have was a lot of pride, and that had to go. And the way that went was intense.
Do you feel like those lessons learned during that time you had to go through in order to learn from them?
Yeah, beyond a doubt. Life had to hit me hard. There's no way I would have learned any other way. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm a person, like, I fed off my reputation. I was never able to feed off of just my person and be comfortable just being me. Anywhere I was always protected by a persona that I had built up for a long time. And for that to go, took something took something that, to the point, and it was all internal, and it had to be that way, because if it was something external, there's no way. Then I could see what I'm fighting. But since it had to be all in my own heart and in my own head, and for me to essentially, it brought me to my knees, and I surrendered, and I said, I can't win at all. And life did that to me in a lot of ways that we know.
What keeps you up at night, and why?
My mind races, so I used to not be able to sleep at night at all before. Um, after that whole depression, it was like a year and a half, 2 years. I was just hiding it. But after that, crying out to God and really having a truly spiritual experience, and being able to believe that I could change my life, to believe that things could change. Keyword believing. A lot of things started just working out, my sleep being one of them. So, I just pray before I go to sleep. I put on positive stuff, positive music, and it's not that my mind stops racing, it's that it's just racing in a positive circle versus a negative circle.
So all that negative energy goes away, and
Yeah, it's like night and day.
it's a lot easier to sleep at when you're at peace.
It's a lot easier to sleep when you're forgiven. It's a lot easier.
What keeps you going every day?
my faith, my family, and this project.
What is it about this project that does it for you?
You know, I didn't think we were going to ask any questions about this project, first off.
Something you love doing.
um, with this, it's hard to put into words. It's hard to put into words, and this project has been a process, and this project came to mind right when I started to believe that I could change. That when I had that glimmer of hope, you know, and then I also had, everything the same way that depression, just life started knocking me down. It was like, geez, this is never gonna stop, and to the point where I want to take my own life, where it was just boom, 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 boom. Kind of we saw a little bit of the opposite happen with this project. It was things started breaking in my favor, and it's kind of because they had to. My back was against the wall, and I had to approach not just this project. I mean, the whole journey of bettering myself with a dire resolve, because literally my life depended on it. Like, you don't just stop having suicidal thoughts. You just don't. Oh, the next day I did cry out to God, and in that moment I felt hope. But it's not like the next day everything was great. It's the same thing the next day. So I knew that I had to approach everything I was doing with a grand level of seriousness. And that's what I started doing. I think that you felt it. Anybody who I talked to felt it. And some people will call it passion. For me, it was like there's no other way. And how's, like, it's just crazy. I was doing interviews when I'm still in my depression doing an interview. I'm still on the journey of trying. I don't know exactly the mechanics of what's happening. I do know that it's all positive. And I do know that when I started that first interview I did, and it's like I felt butterflies in my stomach, and I feel it during each interview. The before interview, like, I feel that whole positive vibe, and it's what kept on telling me to keep on going, and it's something that caught a life of its own. The pieces that fell together, those are amazing as well. We know that story. I'm also fortunate that I have a brother who apparently, I think maybe we were going through a depression during the same time.
For sure.
But we just didn't know how to talk about our feelings. So,
I taught that.
but he's on board. My little brother's on board, and it's just all love for the most part, and it's giving. It's pretty much service. It's helping other people. And when I do these interviews, and people tell me they don't, and they're like shy, or if they're even wondering if it's gonna help somebody else, I know after each interview that it helps me beyond a doubt. So when I tell somebody, like, hey, your interview will help somebody, because I know it's gonna help me. Sorry. Sorry.
Good. I feel the same way. Imagine you're in the hospital with hours to live. What would be your regrets?
I'm going to sound like Coach Costa. This is going to sound bold. This is going to sound bold. I'm very fortunate to have a cross-reference point of that depression, of life in prison, of a per se rough childhood relative to maybe some other kids. And it's kind of like when I wanted to take my own life, I was filled with regrets. I couldn't look myself in the mirror. I couldn't rationalize the things I had done. I couldn't, I couldn't live with myself. So it was regret right and left. Um, but when I cried out to God, it's like those regrets were like, it's like my perspective changed, and it was like, hey, these things happened. They're done. And those regrets became lessons, very hard lessons, but definitely lessons that I had to learn, and those are powerful lessons that I try and share.
So you're gonna make it, and you're alive and you're well. Do you feel like you can change or amend any of those regrets?
There's no regrets. There's just lessons, bro. Yeah.
What are your dreams now? As a child, you dreamt to be an architect. What are your dreams right now?
Well, I realize that I'm in my dream right now, which is a beautiful feeling.
What does that feel like?
Man, I feel like that little boy who was always happy regardless of what was happening. I feel like when I wake up, things brush off my shoulders because I see what the prize is. I see what the goal is. I'm hopeful. That's, to wake up understanding that everything I do today is part of the dream is empowering. But I still have dreams within my dream, I still have dreams within this dream. So,
what are those dreams?
I mean, just like the cliche dream. I have a specific one. I've always been a visual person, but I've never been able to even dream of having a family until this past year. I could never even think that was possible. And, one of the dreams I have now is just, I have it actually played out in my head. It's me, like, this is how, if you were to tell me what's your dream now, it's me, writing, editing a story, and like being in this beautiful study room, office, the whole nine, and to see my kid running. And I get emotional because I can feel it and it feels real. So, to get to me even being able to see that, that's a miracle.
That's
so,
a beautiful thing in itself.
So, yeah, that's a dream to have, family within this dream for sure.
So you're the author of your book. He actually is. But how do you want it to end?
How I want my story to end, relatively old, but not that old. Cliche again. In the hospital. My whole family there, my kids, my grandkids, my sisters. And you know, I want to be ready to meet my maker.
How will it feel for it to end that way for you?
I mean, beautiful, grateful
And you would feel it that you fulfilled your whole of your life.
that I did the best I could.
Beautiful.
That's it.
Congratulations, bro.
Man, jeez, bro. Jeez. I don't like it. We gotta